So it's great to speak today with Moritz Fuerste, CEO or co-founder at HYROX. Moritz, how are you doing?
Very good, Gary. Thanks for having me. Hope you're well too.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. Yeah, it's great. It's great to speak with you, and it's great to hear a bit more about HYROX. So maybe just to start with, could you tell us a bit about you? Because you've got a bit of a sporting background. Maybe tell us a bit about you and your background. That'd be great as an opener.
Yeah, little bit of a sporting background is good. I played field hockey for basically the entire time of my life. I went to 3 Olympics, to Beijing, London, Rio. Won 3 medals there with the German national team, a couple of golds and a bronze. And well, field hockey has been my passion in my life basically, and that's why I'm even more happy that I could stay in the world of sports after I finished my career.
Fantastic. So how was it at those games? I mean, and winning those medals, I'm guessing that was a pretty special feeling.
Yeah, it's basically not really describable because, you know, the atmosphere and the myth that comes along with Olympic Games is like literally not describable. It's you have to experience that, and I think all athletes who ever went, no matter how they finished, who were living in the Olympic Village for a couple of days or a week or whatever, they will prove me right and agree that it is the most special place on the planet for those couple of weeks. I was very fortunate to experience that 3 times, and even with a quite good result. And so yeah, I'm looking back to the times with yeah, a smiling face, but also with a crying eye when I was watching the Tokyo Olympics. Now it's kind of tough. It was the first. It's been the first Olympics I've been watching as a fan. So yeah.
Yeah, I suppose. I mean, obviously, Tokyo was a very strange Olympics in its own right, anyway. So I suppose that must have been. I mean, I understand it was quite weird for the Japanese people because they were predominantly watching it on TV, like the rest of us. So yeah, it must a strange experience. But so we're moving on from the Olympics then. So if you could maybe tell us how HYROX came about.
Well, look, Gary, in a way, we were coming from this competitive field of sports. My partner is probably one of the biggest experts in Germany, maybe even the world, when it comes to event organization. Our third partner is a marketing genius from Germany, a co-founder. So, and I'm from the sport.
Sorry, that's Christian, yeah? Christian Tötzke.
Christian is the event expert, Christian Tötzke, and then Michael Troutman, our third co-founder. He's like marketing genius with a big advertising company. Anyway, and I'm from the sportive background, so we considered fitness not only as like a form of getting fit for a sport like basketball or whatever, football, hockey, field hockey, but we always considered sports as something that's supposed to be competitive, as kind of a target or a goal that you set for yourself. And it's funny because, like, you know, 10 years ago, people were going to the gym and they would never say, that's my sport. They would say, I'm a hockey player, I'm a football player, I'm a basketball player. But I go to the gym twice a week to work out and get better from a fitness perspective. Nowadays, more than 50% of the people say that fitness is their sport, which when we started was quite surprising because we thought, okay, it's funny. You say it's your sport, but you actually never play. So you work out, but there's no sport you can compete in because, and don't get me wrong, CrossFit or even OCR racing, that's incredible, great sports, but it's not for the mass of the people. It's not, you know, CrossFit is for the 0. whatever %. They can all do the training, but they cannot attend an actual event or a competition. So we were like, okay, it's funny you say it's your sport because it's basically like you go 3 times a week to soccer training, but you never play at the weekend. You're just not allowed, or there is no game that you can attend. So we wanted to create kind of the competition or the race, how we call it, for the field of fitness. Like you know, one day people started saying, okay, I don't like running. I like running. I love running. But it's not enough for me to just run. So they started inventing races, you know, marathons, 10K races, 5K races. Nowadays, there's basically a race for every amount of, you know, of way that you can have, from 100 meters to a marathon. Yeah. And same goes with swimming. People were swimming for probably thousands of years. And at one point, people decided, it's fun to do that as a competition as well. So nowadays we have swim competitions. And in fitness, we don't have it. There is no real, like, sport of fitness when it comes to competition or racing. And we wanted to create that, and we thought there was a niche. And maybe, I'm sorry, the answer took a little bit longer than expected, but
no, it's good. It's good.
But that's in a way, that was our objective when we started, that we said, okay, although the world of sports is very big, we think that there is actually like kind of a niche that is not taken yet.
Cool. And so, in terms of the business itself, am I correct? Was it 2019 you secured an investment from Infront? Is that right?
That's correct, yes.
Yeah, so obviously Infront, which is part of Wanda Group, Wanda Sports, obviously formerly associated with Ironman, obviously now Ironman a separate business. So how did that come about, and what was the rationale for Infront's investment?
Well, that's hopefully it's a simple answer. I hope. Otherwise, there would be other reasons behind it that I don't know about. No, but Infront saw the potential in HYROX very early. We were talking to them even before they did the final investment. We started in 2017, had the first events, had a couple of thousands participants at the events in 2019, early in that year. And and Infront saw this as one part of their growing endurance fitness mass participation strategy that they were following. Apart from the separation of Infront and Ironman, they are focusing a lot on mass participation events, on running events, on fitness events, also on some OCR events, and it just fit perfectly into their strategy. And I mean, obviously the pandemic hit us hard, but that doesn't change the fact that a product that was good before the pandemic, why shouldn't it be still good after the pandemic? It's just that we have to, in a way, get through this. But that was basically their strategy, and we were very happy with it because it gave us the opportunity to grow faster. Obviously, we started in Germany, started a little bit in the US, mainly because we wanted to be the first ones there, because obviously it's a very important market for a fitness company like ours. And we want to touch base there, but it's heavily high investments. So we were very happy to get like a very experienced investor on board at such an early stage.
Yeah. So you mentioned the pandemic. I mean, obviously we have to bring it up. Still with us, sadly. So last year was clearly very challenging for event organizers worldwide. Specifically as an indoor event and fitness brand, what challenges did HYROX face, and I suppose how have you sort of adapted to those challenges?
Look, I don't think there is another. I mean, probably, but I don't think you can get hit harder than our business in a way, because I mean we haven't done anything since February 2020. Yeah. So apart from the fact that we found a way that has nothing to do with HYROX or sports whatsoever, that we found a way to survive because we were focusing on testing, but I don't want to get into that now. But so we made some money in other areas. Otherwise, this company wouldn't exist. And not because of the fact that no one's interested in HYROX. We see this with the growing ticket sales we're doing now, especially in the UK. But no, just because it would have been impossible to survive those 18 or 20 or now maybe 24, whatever a month, because in Germany we're still not allowed to have events,
right?
Like HYROX. So but we found our way through, found some other solutions how to survive in a way, although that might sound a little bit dramatic, but you know how I mean it. And that's why we didn't adapt much, because we couldn't. It wasn't like people didn't tell us, if you do this, then you can do events. It's like people just keep telling us we can't. So obviously we have all the hygienic or strategic elements in place that should, from our perspective, allow events like testing and the vaccinated people, obviously, and all the masks and everything that is nowadays already our daily work or daily routine. That's obviously also in place for our events, but except for the US and now luckily the UK, we didn't have permits yet to actually then have an event.
Yeah. So I suppose your strategy in terms of expansion has been fundamentally affected. Clearly, as you say, if you can't in your home market of Germany, you've been unable to put events on. But you have obviously now got this expansion in the UK. So maybe you can talk through a bit about that, because obviously UK, looking at your press releases, seems a very key market for you guys.
Oh yeah, absolutely, and it's really a little bit I would even say enthusiastic feeling for us at the moment, because not only because the UK, we're actually selling a lot of tickets in the UK, but also because we see that the hype ain't over, and we were just there at the tipping point when the pandemic hit, and we wanted to go to the UK 1.5 years ago. That's the time it took now to start a business there, and the UK is a fantastic market. I mean, it's such an amazing fitness enthusiasm there. There's so many gyms in the UK. It's seriously surprising how many gyms the UK has, and also I experienced it in London 2012. The kind of respect for sports and the way sport is integrated in the culture in the UK is incomparable in Europe, as far as I'm concerned, and I haven't experienced that anywhere else. And I played in almost every country in Europe, and I can say it from Germany's perspective, sport has such an amazing role in the UK culture and society. So I'm more than happy that we finally made that step over that small water, and I can finally cross that to be part of the UK sports culture. And London obviously as its start, but also Birmingham and Manchester as the other two events in the UK. I'm really excited for those.
Yeah. It's interesting, obviously, somebody who's from the UK, for you to say that as obviously such a well-respected sports person, that you feel that the culture of sport in this country is so strong. How would you see that in the US? Do you see a sort of similar embedding of culture? Obviously,
no, I would. Yeah, sorry. No, I would say the US are worldwide number one when it comes to that. But the UK are, I don't know. I don't know every country in the world, obviously, but from my experience, the UK are not far behind, probably in the top 5. That's how, at least how I feel about it. I mean, as I said, my experience comes from especially the Olympic Games, but also from playing in other countries, the way that sports people are respected in the country, no matter what sport they come from. The way in the Olympic Games, I've never experienced something like that. We played in front of 17,500 people in every game in the Olympics in 2012, and people would clap their hands if you would just play a pass in midfield, because they knew so much about the game. I played in countries they didn't even understand when we scored a goal. So that was really, really, really impressive. And I never forgot. And I think the UK are just a sports nation.
Yeah. No, I mean, as I say, it'd be really interesting to see how the HYROX brand, takes off here in the UK, because I'm guessing it must be quite hard, clearly putting the pandemic to one side, just to build a new brand. And I think that getting that awareness out, getting people understanding what the brand values are, and so on. So with that in mind, how are you approaching this year? And I suppose also a lot of your planning going now into next year. And sort of link with that, if we think about the mindset that athletes have now, given that athletes' attitudes about attending events may be uncertain, how are you sort of planning that and communicating with the athletes for HYROX?
Yeah, honestly, we're kind of trying to separate that communication from the actual advertisement for the event or promotion of the event, because I think that the one thing is, you want to build a brand, and obviously we want people, marketing speech, somehow top of funnel, to realize there's a new kid on the block, and if I would focus too much on explaining why this also works in the pandemic, I am kind of misleading my communication as far as I'm concerned. So we are trying to focus in the first place on literally make people understand that we are there, that we are coming to the UK. And it's hard enough for us to explain what HYROX is to someone who hasn't heard of it. So we're trying to separate the communication at that point. So the first entry point for us is showing the fantastic sport of HYROX. And then in the second phase, if people are, clicking on our ads or liking our website or whatever, Then we're explaining why it's a safe environment at the event and why people can still attend, although we are in the middle or whatever, at the end, I don't know, beginning of a pandemic. So we're trying to separate that communication, if you understand what I mean, because we have enough to do to, as you said, quite correctly, to build a brand and from scratch, and really, like, you know, from creating the first logos to thinking about a global marketing strategy. This is probably somehow like a blueprint of creating a brand from scratch to, like, you know, what you would think it could look like in the end.
Yeah. So I suppose in many respects, if you think about endurance, a lot of endurance brands that are out there, Ironman being a good example, you've got the red carpet, you've got that experience, the You Are an Ironman experience. You know, for the readers of Endurance Biz, and obviously we featured you for over the last couple of years, so they should be a little bit familiar about what HYROX is. But is there something that you could maybe summarize what that wow moment, that sort of spine tingling moment you get? You know, I think with all the research that we've ever done, there's this sense of euphoria you get when you complete something, and I'm guessing you're tapping into that a lot within this indoor environment in terms of mixing, you know, the strength and the other, you know, run and other fitness components within what HYROX is.
Yeah, 100%. And you said it completely right. It's all about the experience of finishing. It's all about the success story of yourself. It doesn't matter at all what time you finish it. It's a little bit like the marathon philosophy. If you run a marathon for the first time, what's the first question people ask you? It's like, what was your finisher time? And actually the answer doesn't matter, because if you say 2 hours 59, then people say, wow, amazing. If you say 3 hours 59, people say, amazing. If you say it's 4 hours 59, then people look at you and say probably like, wow, amazing. So, you know, the thing is, it's your personal challenge. And then you attempt your next marathon, you want to beat your own time by 5 minutes or whatever. So you train for that. So HYROX is like really all about that. It's 98% of our starters finish. So everyone can get through it. It's very tough. It's very challenging. And you will be completely exhausted and maybe not able to walk for another couple of hours after the competition, but you will get through it. And it doesn't matter. We had a competitor in Chicago. He was probably, I don't know, 210 kilograms. He finished in 3 hours and 45 minutes. He was hugging his wife, kissing his children in the finisher line and praying to God, because he was a preacher. And he was just the most happiest man on the planet at that moment. And he came back this year. He did it in Chicago again. And he was, by the way, he lost 30 kilograms. So it's an amazing story for us. No, but in the end, it doesn't matter if you finish in 55 minutes. No one wants to run a marathon with Kipchoge, the Olympic champion. I couldn't even run a kilometer with him, but I admire watching him, you know, and I like watching him. And I still like running a marathon, but 2.5 hours behind him.
Yeah.
So this is what HYROX is about. We want to tell people that they can take part. And if they don't want to experience that for themselves, they can do a double. They can do in a mixed competition if they like, where you share the workouts and you run together, which is, by the way, an amazing experience for couples, because there are not many competitive sports in the world that you can really do with your partner without one of the two having to, you know, slow down or watch out or whatever. Here you can really do it together, and you will be a perfect match in the end, you know, literally.
No, and I suppose the other aspect of this as well would be spectators. So and I think in many cases, a lot of endurance events, particularly the longer the distance, the harder it is to engage spectators. You know, it's a long time, 10 to 18 hours for somebody to be standing clapping people along the side. But I'm guessing within your format, because you have more of a sort of stadium feel, would that be correct? Or more of a spectator engagement? Is that something that's also part of your plans, or are you really focusing more on the athletes 100%?
No. It's definitely both, obviously. We had our biggest event in our hometown here in Hamburg, Germany, the biggest event just before the pandemic. In December 2019, we had 3,500 participants, and we had 15,000 spectators in that arena that is 10,000 square meters. So it was really packed over the day. Obviously, not everyone was there at the same time, but it was over the entire day. And what you said is true. as a spectator, you don't have to walk more than maybe 100 meters to see everything you want from your family member, boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever. And you can follow the entire competition without running more than 100 meters, because everything is so close together, and it's always the same setup. So you run a kilometer, then you do the first workout, you run the second kilometer, and people and the spectators can just stand there and watch the top stars. You know, they're basically standing a couple of meters next to some of the world stars pushing a sled of 175 kilograms plus sled. So that's quite impressive to be so close.
Yeah, because as you say, it isn't something that you see much of, I suppose. So we could talk forever, and I'm just conscious of your time as much as anything. But maybe as a kind of final question, and we've asked this of a few event organisers we've spoken with, and it relates, I suppose, as much to the pandemic, but also to the opportunities that have come out of more attention on our health and our well-being. So I suppose the question is quite simply what your thoughts are around the long-term prospects for the wider endurance sport category going forwards. Can we, get through this pandemic, come back stronger, particularly while so many businesses have been so badly hit?
Well, I'm 100% convinced that we are. That we are working in one of the biggest rebound businesses that will be in, like, from a global perspective, because everybody's thinking about fitness, health. People did so much sports in the lockdowns globally. People were ordering sports equipment and stuff. So I think once that's all back to, in a way, normal, I think people will try out new things. They realize that it's not worth waiting for whatever. It's just do it, like, literally. So I really think that we are working in this field of rebound businesses, and I consider HYROX as one of the healthiest sports in the world from a training perspective. You need a full body approach. You don't, over exhaust a certain muscle. You don't run 42 kilometers so that your feet are like, in trouble. So everything is very tough, but it's split over the entire muscles of your body, basically, and that is a healthy way of training. I think we can agree on that. So we consider HYROX as one of the healthiest sports in the world, and that will be something that people are looking for in the future. And of course, there are many other endurance sports that are claiming maybe the same thing, but the field is big enough. It's not. Yeah. People don't do just one endurance event a year. So if you're interested in that, you try out everything. And I really think that the endurance, like, competition world will see an enormous growth over the next years. And by the way, I'm coming from that world, and the dream is still, why shouldn't HYROX be Olympic one day?
Well, you never know. You got connections, obviously. So perhaps one day. Oh, this has been absolutely fascinating. Really, interesting to see how you've come so far, and also it'd be great to see you going from strength to strength going forward. So thanks ever so much for your time, Moritz. It's been really good, and keep in touch and speak to you soon.
Thanks, Gary. Appreciate you having me.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Cheers. Bye.